This is a redo of the Cerbone theory, the beginning, podcast number 1, because we didn't have the video. Yeah, so this is going right on YouTube. So, we're starting over.
So where did we start last time? How we started?
We started, well, obviously this is just a reintroduction to this podcast. It's casual conversations about on ideas, adversity in life. We're 2 amateur ultramarathon runners just trying to pick new challenges to, build up a little bit of a reputation to get ourselves, out there on YouTube and in the podcast world, and just trying to, increase our emotional, social, and physical intelligence on the world.
I think it'll hold us more accountable when we do challenges like these, because people will know that we're doing them.
You need to stick to them. Yeah, obviously. Yeah, it keeps everybody's watching, so you might as well. You can't stop.
No choice.
Yeah. And that's not a bad thing too. That's not a bad thing too, because obviously people get unmotivated at times, and people they lose sight of what they're shooting for. And if you have people that are kind of pushing you and keeping you moving forward, then that's always going to be in the back of your mind. You're not going to stop. And I think that's a big, because we're such social animals. Organisms, people are. They crave social and social. I don't know what the
There's
word
no
is.
Avoiding it though.
Yeah,
it's just there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a big help. We could start off with the 50K. For people that are watching on YouTube, we want to go over what ultramarathon running is. It's anything over 26.2 miles. Is a typical marathon. We decided back in, I want to say late 2018, that we were going to attempt a 50K, which is one of the shorter ultramarathons.
Probably one of the first one after a marathon to be considered an ultramarathon, right?
Yeah.
Because they go from 26.2. I guess you could do a 6 hour, because they have 6 hour races.
Yeah.
Where maybe you'll end up somewhere in between 26.2 and a 50K, but that's getting kind of technical right there.
Yeah.
Usually 50Ks are the first ones. 50
kilometers are usually the first ultramarathon that people would attempt.
And if you're bad at math, that's 32 miles, right?
Yeah, so we attempted to do that. We decided that we would do it in Tallahassee, where Nicholas goes to school. And then I was down in West Palm Beach at the time. I was working at the animal hospital and kind of just doing my schooling down here. And we first heard of the ultramarathon running from a JRE podcast, Joe Rogan Experience. And we instantly we were pulled towards it. Mm-hmm. It just seemed like a cool challenge to try, nice way to keep yourself, in shape. Especially, any aerobic exercise is probably one of the best things for you.
There was something intriguing about it, and then just trying. It's almost, I think we've seen, when we did weightlifting.
Yeah.
You can see yourself incrementally get better and stronger. And when we started running these longer distances, we saw ourselves getting better, being able to run more miles.
Yes.
And I think for me, that might have been one of the main reasons why I really started liking this.
Yeah, I agree.
Because when I started out, I think the longest I did for the first week when we started training for this was maybe a 4 or 6 mile run. Mm-hmm. And then maybe a couple of days later, I was able to do 7 or 8. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, I can get better at this. And it's a good feeling.
6 miles for sure was the tipping point for me, because I was like, that was crazy. 6 miles was insane to me. And then pushing that to 6 to 10, 10 to 15, 15 to I think somewhere in 20, and then 30, and then now that we've done our furthest run that we've ever done, I'm sure we've covered this in the past, but is a 50 miler, and it's one of the typical ultra marathons that you would do. To kind of get yourself started with these type of things. But, the ones that really separate the boys from the men's is the 100-miler.
Yeah, and that's when you get that belt buckle
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
You need one of those.
Yeah, that's the goal eventually. But I think we're starting slow, and but we're slow and steady wins the race, obviously, and we'll eventually get there. And we're keeping our bodies intact and physically fit and ready for the next one. So we're not starting from scratch or completely from zero. Also, what I forgot what I was gonna say. But anyway, going over the 50K, the original 50K that we did in Tallahassee. If you want to start off how it started a little bit.
How we started?
Yeah.
I always forget how they who's the one that initiates the challenge.
Well, that one specifically, I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember that one at all.
So either Giovanni contacted me or I contacted Giovanni, and when we both agreed that we will do this, and we set the date. And so we started training. Would we give ourselves 4 or 5 months?
I want to say it was like November to March. So November, December, January, February, March.
4 or 5 months or something like that. Yeah. So we started training for it. Didn't really have a plan for this one. We just kind of ran a lot.
It was off the cuff.
As long as we were running, we thought we were doing good. I mean, at least I thought I was doing good.
Well, I mean, you gradually increase over time. I mean, but you don't want to stop running for a week and then lose what you gained, and then yeah.
So I was training on the trail that we would be doing the 50K on. So that's where I would be doing all my training. Am I leaving anything out? Or
that's pretty much.
Yeah, there's not too many details about how we trained for it. I mean, we kind of just started small, worked our way. Oh, we did get to the point where I was curious on how far Giovanni has gotten. Yeah, and then Giovanni got curious on how far I was going.
We weren't really telling each other how far we were running. We were just running, and then every once in a while, maybe once or twice a week, we would text each other and I ran this far, I ran this far, I ran this far, and then it became slowly okay, well, we're gradually, but you kind of wanted to compete with the other person a little bit and get to so we could see how close we can get to this ultra.
I also think since we didn't really have a plan for this one, an actual training plan. I think I just went off the amount of time I had that day. Yeah. If I had a lot of time on a Saturday, okay, then that's what I would do my long runs. Yeah. If I didn't have a lot of time, or probably also based on how I felt, I think too. Yeah. Which, I mean, I don't know if it was the good or right thing to do. Yeah. But it was a 50K. I mean, we got it done.
Yeah, but I saw this funny on the Fur web page the other day. It was a meme where this guy was walking. In the cartoons, you see there's a rake on the floor in the car. Oh. You saw that?
I did see
and it's
it.
Your first funny. Ultra, and then the guy stepped on the rank and he hit himself in the face, and then he said your 20th Ultra, you're doing it was a split picture of some guy doing parkour and stuff like that. But I mean, it's just the fact that the more you do them, the more experience you're going to gain, the more things you're going to know, what equipment to bring and how to do it, how to train. It's big. It's a big thing. It's experience. Mm-hmm. So eventually, there's a couple little smaller, minute details that we want to talk about during our fun things we want to talk about that happened during the training process for the 50K. Mm-hmm. One of my experiences was I would run sometimes at night, and it's just whenever I had the time, because maybe I would take some rest days in between my long runs, but I think for the most part I was always trying to I would always have a point in my head where I wanted to get to, and I live in Lake Worth, and most of the time I would go to the Okeechobee Bridge, which is roughly 5 miles distance from my house, and then 5 miles back. 10 miles. So that seems like a good run to do to get yourself, prepped. And slowly over time, I would, maybe push that a little bit further. Maybe rest days I would do a little less. Maybe some days I would take off and give myself a break. And one night, and a big part of, I think for me, and I don't know for you, but especially it's a big stress reliever. Especially, I mean, not the fact of doing it, but afterwards. Especially if you're wound up about something, or stressed out about something school-related, family-related, just craziness going on, the chaos going on in your head. Good way to get that stuff out. Good outlet. I don't know if you feel the same, if you have experience like that.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's, for some reason, I only get that when it's a heavy cardio exercise. Like, I wouldn't get it if I'm like just like lifting weights or something. It has to be like your heart rate has to be up real high, and you have to be like, for some reason, just like a hard cardio exercise is where I get that stress reliever.
I get it from like heavy weights sometimes too. Just
Too,
if I'm,
yeah.
like I'm getting close to like a PRs, excuse me, close to a PR or something like that. I'll always kind of I'll get that little bit of a rush in my head, and I'll get into it, and that fire's building up, and that's fun. But like if I'm just going to the gym and just doing 2, 3, 4 miles and a couple of reps on bicep curls or something like that, it's not really that exciting.
Yeah,
Just
I think
doing maintenance.
you have to push yourself
Yeah.
to get that feeling.
Yeah. But for some reason one night I got home. It was closer, maybe a month and a half away from the 50K, and we were getting closer to the run. And I don't know, I was getting kind of nervous that I typically, like, I wasn't going to be able to do it. So I guess that was kind of like always lingering in the back of my head, and I was kind of like, well, the farthest I've ever run so far, and we have a month to go. It's 15 miles. It's another 15 miles to do this run, or 16 miles. And so I kind of like, I got home. I was super stressed about long day at work. My mom didn't cook dinner that night, so I think I had like Pollo Tropical, nothing like crazy. And like as soon as I ate it, I put my shoes on, ran out the door, just like wanting to go maybe to Okeechobee, 10 miles maybe. And then eventually went further than that, got to about Clematis, which is probably about 13 miles, or would be, I think, like 7.5. And then Palm Beach Lakes, which is probably closer to like 8. And then I got down to like 45th Street, and I'm not thinking the whole time. I'm thinking like I'm not even worried about running back. It's not even a thought in my head. And it's like pushing 10 o'clock. It's pushing 10 o'clock and at night, and you're not thinking about, or at least I'm not thinking about, like the dangers of being out this late on I think it was a Sunday. I'm passing through Tamron, and people that are familiar with Tamron, it's a terrible place to be at any time during the day. And I'm passing through, and I remember, if I remember correctly, there was the music shop. You know the music shop? If you're going down Dixie, like south or north, like I forget where it's at. It's next to some elementary school. But I just saw like a crowd of homeless people, and then like there was like, I don't know, this guy was sitting underneath like a bus stop, and like there was just like a little bit of blood next to him or something like that. It was weird. It was like a little stain.
I remember you.
Yeah, I was like, what the heck? I don't know if I was just freaking out or I don't know what, but I'm passing.
Your body's also probably exhausted at this point. So
yeah, I'm tired. I'm like, and this is like, I haven't even turned around at this point, so I still, I'm just running, but I'm still feeling pretty good. Nothing's hurting. And then eventually I get to 45th Street, and for some reason I always thought like Blue Heron would be like a cool place to, like, I don't know why I thought that was like always, like, even before that.
Because when we drive there, it's almost kind of far to get to Blue Heron.
Oh yeah, like the drive itself is like 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. So I always thought like Blue Heron would be like a cool place, and I'm like, oh, that would be so cool to be like, oh, I made it to Blue Heron. Oh, that's nuts. So like, and I'm only 3 miles away at this point from 45th Street. I'm like, screw it, let me get to Blue Heron. The little bridge that goes over I want to say the inlet that comes through the intercoastal into the mainland, and go over the bridge. I get to the Blue Heron Bridge, and I tap the pole in the corner of Dixie and Blue Heron. Kind of look around, and I go, oh damn it. Like, this is not going to be fun. So eventually turn around. I'm making my way back. Runner's knee is in effect now. I have no water, no food.
What time is it?
We're closing in on probably like 11 o'clock. And I'm getting further and further away or closer and closer back to home. And but I'm feeling the repercussions of my actions, and I eventually get to Tamron again, and I'm kind of sketching out now because I'm exhausted. And if I were to get like attacked or mugged or something. There's like absolutely nothing I could do about it.
energy.
No, I just had to lay down on the floor.
I always think about that too, like on my long runs.
Like if somebody,
like if someone came, I'm like by myself right now. Someone came because when I would do my trains on the trail, I'm like, if like an animal came out and tried to attack me, I'm done. But anyway, sorry.
And no, it's that's true. I mean, it's like a little fear in the back of your head, especially when you're in like a new area or like a unfamiliar place, and this is like all anything that could have gone wrong, like that was like the perfect element like to be in. Anyway, but I wasn't too worried about that before that at the time getting there. But as you know, when I'm deep into this run, I'm kind of getting more and more closer to home, and I guess I hit the end of like Tamron Ave, that that little sketchy area, and I hit a bump on the road. There was like a little on the sidewalk, I guess there was like a kick up on the curb,
uneven.
Yeah, and tripped over that, scraped my knee, fall down. I'm kind of sitting there for a minute, and some guy just goes, "Hey, you all right?" And then I'm kind of sketched out because I'm like, why? First of all, it's like 12:30 at night. I'm like, why is someone yelling at me? I'm exhausted. Is he gonna come over here and try to attack me or something like that, or is it some crackhead or something? I'm like, oh great, and I look over. I'm like, yeah, and he's like, all right. And then
nice guy.
Yeah, he was a nice gent, making sure I was okay. Maybe he thought I was a crackhead. I don't know.
Who's this kid running down the street at 11:30 at night?
And I eventually get past that area, and I got closer to your house, and I remember like right before here, I didn't tell this the last time, but I was so you know where the Palm Beach Post is?
Mm-hmm.
I was it's like not George's, but there's a hardware store on the left hand side.
Yes.
There's a faucet on there. I was so thirsty because I didn't have any water on me. I just went over to the faucet, turned it on, and just started drinking out of the faucet. It was the worst, disgusting water I have ever tasted.
I don't think
I've
heard this before.
Oh no, that happened. Yeah. I forgot. I was thinking when I first told the story, I was trying to remember other things that happened. Yeah. But yeah, I drank out of the faucet. I'm like, oh, it's just disgusting sewage water, and I'm like, all right. And then, I keep going. Make it to about maybe Southern, a little past Southern, maybe a little less than 3 miles from the house, and my body's shot. It's like close to 1 o'clock now. My body's shot. A little cooler out. I think that probably helped me in all, like, better than being hot and humid like usually it is in Florida. But I kind of just laid down on the floor, collected myself for maybe about 10 minutes. And in retrospect, knowing what we know now, that probably wasn't the best idea because that startup again sucked. Mm-hmm. And then made my way home. First thing I did was sat on the toilet, texted you, and then went to bed.
Yeah, I get this text from Giovanni. I don't know if I was up at the time or maybe I saw it the next morning. But what would you say? You officially? I
officially am a ultramarathon runner.
So he hit that 30-mile mark.
Yeah, it was fun. It was cool. And then the next morning, I could barely walk. It was like I went to the gym, but like I was like limping in. I went with Facundo and Kevin, and they were like, well, "Why you look like you just like you like did like squats the whole day?" And I was like, "I ran 30 miles last night." They're like, "What the fuck?" But it was cool. It was like the big milestone in like this process to becoming like our amateur ultra marathon career. Yeah, it was cool.
Mine was nowhere. My experience was nowhere near that. But that's great. I think my furthest I ran before we did the 50K was like a marathon.
Oh yeah, it's still.
Yeah, I felt good after too, but
I
that's
think
a pretty crazy story.
It was nuts. It was it was definitely an experience. I think one of the big reasons why, and I think probably most ultramarathon people or runners would like agree with me on this, would be that it's almost like it's a challenge, but it's a self journey almost, like, because you have to really push yourself.
It's you and yourself.
Yeah, you're not really. I mean, most people go in there to beat the races, but the fact that like you're actually doing this is just the fact that you're trying to push yourself. That's the whole point behind it, and I think that's why most people get into it.
Yeah.
And then eventually it becomes a competitive thing where when you really get good at it, and
But it also seems like some of the people that we met during the Skydive Ultra, they were almost like obsessed and like with doing these races.
Oh,
A
yeah.
lot of people, they said they did a race the weekend before and like all these races like before that.
It becomes almost like not even like a lifestyle, but it just becomes a part of them at that point. Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah. And I mean, I can't imagine that it's all that healthy for you. I mean, it's probably good for your mind. I mean, there's a fact that like aerobic exercises and challenging yourself and like stuff like that, or like exposing yourself, especially in young adults, helps you. If you continuously do this throughout your life, you'll be a super ager, or you'll be more prominent to being a super ager, which is more like not physically, but I'm sure it like translates to when you get older and you won't have such like ailments and stuff like that, but also in your mind too. You'll be mentally sharp, is what they usually say.
I think it's good that we're starting this young too.
Yeah.
Like, I think we saw some other people on the race that were a couple people in their 20s. I think we were the youngest, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the second or third place guy was 27. Yeah, I mean, we were for sure one of the younger ones. And the only other, which we have to get in contact with, I'll get in contact with him eventually, is this guy named Ryan Nolan, who went to UCF. I think he's like a year older than us. He just graduated, and he just tried to run around Gemini at UCF. If you're familiar with it, it's the big loop that goes around the whole campus. And he was trying to do 100 miles just during quarantine. Just thought that would be a good challenge to keep himself fit. And I saw the post. Unfortunately, he had to stop at I think 62 miles. But I mean, that's pretty good. And I think he ran his first ultra, his first 50. Was the Everglades Ultra out there.
The race director for the Everglades Ultra is the same guy who's the race director for the Keys 100.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
He manages both of those.
Oh, wow. I want to know how, like, when we get into contact with you, I want to know, like, what the process is behind, like, these race directors. Like, what do they have to do?
How do you start a race?
Yeah, I'm sure there's, like, permitting involved and stuff like that.
I know when you go on that Ultra sign-up website, there's 3 options. It's search for a race, search for like an athlete, or host an event.
Oh, okay.
So it might be easier than we think, but you probably have to get permission from like wherever the park is or something like that.
Yeah,
reserve like a date or something.
Yeah. I'm sure there's some logistics involved and special things that you have to get past with the government and stuff like that, or the city.
So should we go into our actual unofficial 50K since we went over the training?
Yeah. Where do you want to start at? When we get into Tallahassee?
Yeah, so you want to start off?
Yeah, so we showed up in Tallahassee. I rode up with my dad and Nick's dad, and we got up there. I want to say we showed up like late afternoon the day before, and you were still working, so I thought I would go and to be honest, I mean, I had no idea what to grab. I just figured I would grab some food, little like, traveling pack-sized snacks for us, obviously waters, just anything to keep us going. I grabbed some run gum, run gum. They have the goos, which are pretty, I mean, some people have mixed feelings about the goos. I like the taste of most of them, and I like how easy they go down. They're just, I think they're just like a carbohydrate, like kind of gooey substance. It's just really to keep you going. It has some electrolytes in it, some other vitamins in it to keep you going. Caffeine, I think some of them have caffeine. It's just it's a good, easy way to have on if you need something to keep you going and you're not near an aid station in an ultramarathon, which are like basically these setup spots where they usually have maybe like a canopy with a a cooler, and you can stop off and get some water, and there's unmanned and some food too occasionally, but they usually stop off with like I don't know, maybe some type of electrolyte drink to keep your your blood pretty ionized and thick. Also maybe some that's the ultra marathon that we did. They had like some like any range from clementines or tangerines to like pizza. It was like everything in between. So it was whatever you want because you're just going to burn it off anyway. But those aid stations and also I think I grabbed some like Cliff bars or some type of like trail mix bar, which typically, I mean, it seems like now in retrospect that like those were good things to grab, but I mean there were probably better options. Like dried fruit apparently is pretty good because you're not like, it's not as heavy. You're getting the sugar in you. You're getting your vitamins and stuff like that. But I do like that those cold tangerines. Yeah, those are nice.
Those are the best.
Those are refreshing. I would take that over like I mean, water's obviously important, but if I saw a clementine right there, I'd grab that first. So, I grabbed whatever I think I grabbed like 4 goos, 2 for me, 2 for you, a couple of bars, grabbed waters and stuff like that. And everybody like that I asked in the store, I think it was more like like I don't think it was long distance running. I think it was just more like competitive running and stuff like that. Like track and field and stuff like that. The store was typically geared more towards that. But because I was asking, the people there, like, what do you, for ultras, what do you have? And they're like, well, blah, 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 blah. I mean, we don't really, like, sell a lot of stuff specifically geared for that. And I was kind of like, okay, well, then I'm doing guesswork now. Left there. I think we ran into you after work. I don't know if we had dinner or not. I can't remember. I can't remember if you stayed at the house or not, or the apartment or not, but
I think I slept at the hotel.
Okay. Just so we were all together, we were able to get up in the morning.
Get up. Yeah.
Okay. So
and then I remember having breakfast at the hotel too.
Okay. I don't even remember having breakfast at the hotel, to be honest with you. Anyway, but I was probably just really tired. We got up relatively early. I want to say we made our way out there probably close to 8, 9. Started the run, and also this was a pretty cool trail to start off on because I mean you probably know better than I do about it, but it was pretty active. A lot of people going in and out. A lot of cool things to see. It's a 16-mile track, so it was pretty perfect. It was 16 miles there, 16 miles back, exactly what we needed. So, and then it kind of just, at the end of the trail, it ended at like a parking lot station where our like dad and my uncle met us up and gave us like our only food break, which in retrospect again was we should have been eating like every like hour or something like that, just something small like 200 calories worth. But I think that's what kind of screwed me over like towards the end. That's why my legs were hurting.
Tight.
Yeah. But and there was like I hardly did any stretching leading up to that, which is probably a big no-no too. But I mean, like Courtney DeWalter apparently doesn't even like stretch, and but she's a freak. So it's like that doesn't even that's not even relevant to us. From there. Oh, and also this trail that we were running on has these mile markers on it, where it was probably, I mean, it was a little daunting towards the end, but it was kind of motivating when we first started, because like you could see it and you're like, oh, mile 1, mile 2, mile 3, oh, that's cool. At least you know where you're at, and you kind of have like an end point where you know you need to be. But anything and then I'm pretty sure, what did we see? Like interesting things.
The goat
was cool. Some guy had a little baby goat in his yard.
Any people? I thought we met someone that like was like talking to us about something, but I forgot.
There's a couple bike riders that were just asking us questions.
This trail, it's an old. I don't know if I told you this, but it's an old railroad. Mm-hmm. It was like an old railroad.
I've never heard this.
And they converted it into like a bike trail. So it's mainly a bike trail, so that's why you see all these bikers on there.
Yeah, there were a lot of bikers on there.
It's just, how do you describe the surface? Just like pavement?
Yeah,
it's
pavement,
like if you're running on the street.
Yeah. Same situation.
But yeah, so a lot of bikers, runners, and it's like you have the road on one side with trees, and then the trail, and then more trees on the other side, and then like I think it's Apalachicola or something forest to the right.
I have no idea what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't either. Some type of nature preserve or something. So
Oh, okay.
It was nice because like the trees kind of like went over top of the trail, so you were in the shade for a lot of it. At the beginning, or technically the end of the trail, there's like a little restaurant. But yeah, so it was perfect, a straight shot.
I forgot there was that little, like, at the beginning of it, there's like a boatyard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I forgot about that. What is that lake? You know what it is? Over there?
It's called St. Mark's.
Oh, right.
It goes into St. Mark's.
Okay.
I forgot. So basically you start in Tallahassee, and then you go 16 miles south, and you're almost at like the Gulf, pretty much. Mm-hmm. And then you turn around, and we did 60 miles.
That was a cool little starting spot, like where they had like that little boatyard. And did we even? No, we didn't eat.
Technically, that's the ending point, but that's where we started.
Yeah, start finish. Yeah. I just looked up the St. Mark's River. It's only like 36 miles. I see a picture from like this area. Yeah. Actually, this is like right where we ended. This is where the rocks were.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Oh, my God. I haven't seen that in like 2 years. That's funny. But anyway, we did our 16 there.
So the first 16 were pretty easy.
Yeah.
I think
I was a little sore.
At mile 16, I think my face was really red. I think I was just getting like, it was pretty high. It was the middle of the day. Because I remember I was just dying for the water. And my what do they call again?
Camel pack.
Camel pack or whatever. The bladder started leaking.
I don't know. I mean, maybe for longer distant running, like anything over like 100, 150, those 200s, I see a lot more people using the bags.
I think the bags are good for when there's minimal aid stations.
Exactly. Yeah. Because it's good to have like it's a carrying pack for you essentially, but also you have your water too. But I mean,
it's our first one. We didn't really know what to use.
I mean, I enjoyed it. I still use my camel pack occasionally, but not really as often as I would use my belt, or maybe just not using water at all. I mean, because 10 miles, I'm pretty good. I can go without water. It's not an issue. 15 miles, okay, but anything over that, you really should be drinking because it's going to take you over.
Anything that lasts like, I'd say like around like an hour and a half or 2 hours, you probably want to have some water on you.
Yeah, I mean you can rough it out for those that in between, but anything after that, you're gonna be hurting, and you're not gonna be doing much for your body if you're not hydrating. So
yeah, the first 60 miles weren't bad. Fueled up halfway point. Our support crew, Giovanni's dad, my dad, brought us some water. So then we turn around. I think it was around mile maybe 20, maybe around a marathon, 24, 25, close to the marathon where we started getting pretty sore.
Oh, yeah. It was mostly mostly your legs, but your arms too. I didn't even think that was going to be a factor, because I'd never ran that far. So when you're in like a running stance, you're keeping your arms up most of the time. You're not really letting them hang. And you're swaying your arms back and forth, but most of the time your joint in your elbow and that muscles right there, those muscles right there, those really start to get taxed.
Yeah, tightens up
just by keeping them up.
Mm-hmm. So what was it like? Mile 20, around 24, 25, 26, something like that. Where I think we made like our last stop, like went to the bathroom and then tried starting up again. Was difficult, and then kind of limped the rest of the way.
I would say,
almost.
Yeah. It was a rough ending, honestly. I don't know why, but I feel like honestly, I wasn't really going for time when I did it by myself, and I was 2 miles short given that, but I felt like it was easier that time. I don't know why. Maybe it was an off day or something like that, but still. I mean, and I didn't get the arm thing when I did that the first time, but I did stop a little bit more when I was doing that run. I don't know what the issue was there. But I guess you live and you learn. Trial and error.
Yeah.
Also the chafing. That was nuts.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I had never experienced that bad of like a rash. like under my arms, just from like your clothes rubbing against you for 6 hours straight, and you're sweaty, and it's just it develops. You just develop a rash and a chafing around your arms. I got so bad in my groin. I got especially my nipples. Yeah, there's a little bit of skin got teared off there. But I mean, besides that, the showers sucked because when you turn on the hot water and it would hit you, just like it just burned. It felt like a bad burn. That's what it felt like. But that healed up pretty quickly. I think within like the week it was gone. But after we did our 50K unofficial, we took a couple of months off. I think we came out to, it was about probably like 5 months that we kind of took off of like really long distance running. I think that probably the most I ever ran in between that was maybe 10 miles. And I would just do like short periodic runs every once in a while, 2 3 miles here, 2 3 miles there, maybe a 6 miler. I did actually when we were in New York that summer. We went up to New York, and I thought it'd be cool to like run like Central Park.
Yeah.
And Uncle Celso told me like it's like 3 miles. I was like, oh, all right. I haven't ran in a while, but I can do 3 miles easy. It's 3 miles on one end. Like Central Park says one big rectangle, and 3 miles here, 3 miles there. It's like almost 8 miles. So I'm not ready for an 8 miler after that long of off. And I made it around, but there were older people that were just like zooming past me. It was crazy. I'm like, oh my gosh. I just felt like it goes to show you that you need to keep training the specific type of training that you're doing for the sport that you're trying to do, or the competition that you're trying to join. You can't like expect to like take time off like that and then jump right back into it. Yeah. I mean, obviously, I think you increase your baseline a little bit than what it was before you did, especially before we did 32 miles. But like you have to keep developing that if you want to keep growing. You can't just expect that you're going to run 32 miles after 5 months of off,
Yeah.
and not training like that. Yeah. Or that specifically geared training. Mm-hmm. But I ran that, and that was terrible. And then I think we made it to about September 11th, I think it was. That's when I texted you that one night. And I asked you when we were going to, at like 1 o'clock in the morning. I don't know. I couldn't fall asleep, honestly. I had nights like that where I just can't, like I get like insomnia where I just can't fall asleep. I had it like a couple nights ago. I didn't fall asleep until like 4 o'clock in the morning. But like I was really bored, and I was like trying to watch some TV. Maybe I'd pass out to like, I don't think I was watching like That 70s Show or something like that. I was trying to an old episode, and I was like, I'll fall asleep to this. And I couldn't fall asleep. 1 o'clock in the morning goes by, and I'm like, what would make me tired? Running. And I was like, oh, we haven't done an ultra in a while. Or we haven't talked about doing one in a while. So maybe that'd be interesting, something to get back into. And I was just figured like you wouldn't be up, and for some reason you were up. I was like, what the heck? Were you working that night or something?
It might have been like a long night at the country club, and I think I was in bed when you texted me, and I just kind of looked at it. I was like, huh?
And then the next day you hit me up with the SkydiveUltra. And that seemed like a really cool, interesting idea that we could, eventually get ourselves to get to doing. Mm-hmm. And then I think I was kind of slowly just not really running, but I was kind of putting in like 2 or 3 miles here and there again. And then until you brought out the actual schedule, that's when we really hit the fan.
Things got serious. Yeah.
Yeah. It like developed. And if you want to talk about how you develop that schedule and like a training plan, how you put that together.
So right after we chose what race we were going to do, the SkydiveUltra 50 miler, just started doing some research on the internet, took things from different resources, kind of put it together in a calendar format in Excel. And I mean, yeah, that's kind of what I used. It wasn't really from me. It wasn't produced by me. I just kind of took different resources and put them together.
Kind of like
can't take credit for it. Yeah.
Was there a specific website that you went to for people that are trying to get into this? Like, I think this honestly, this podcast, I mean, not geared specifically for it, but I would really like to like put this out there for like kids our age or younger or maybe a little bit older to kind of get in.
To want to get into it.
Yeah, to kind of like
That's a
bring
good idea,
awareness
yeah.
to this sport. I mean, because honestly, it's a very low key kind of sport, and
Yeah.
I think in the past decade, it's really that's when it's really only grown.
You don't need any skills. Like
No, and it's perfect. It's
Just move.
perfect for developing skills like
Yeah.
resilience and just not quitting and stuff that you could use for the rest of your life.
Yeah. I mean, I think I just typed in 50-mile training plan ultramarathon.
Was it like irunfar.com or something like that? I know that's one of the big ones.
Yeah, that may have been one of the resources.
Okay.
But yeah, I just took stuff from like whatever resource looked pretty good, put it together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. It was a good plan. Obviously worked. We made it through, and we went over this in our, I think episode 2 was our 50-mile SkydiveUltra. So if you want to hear more about that, I'd say go visit that one. And
Yes.
and if you're really considering doing, being a psycho, but it's a really cool sport because it develops not only your physical aspect of it, it develops your mind, I think. And I think one of the cool aspects of it is that like when you're dreading something that's like long and daunting, that's going to take a lot of time and hours to put in, something like this, and you've experienced it too, I've talked about it, but like time just seems like it flies by it after you run 4 hours, like doing like something I don't know, like not even an exercise, but just an activity that's going to take a long time, and you're dreading that I got to put an hour and a half worth of work in this today or something like that. That time flies right by because you just ran 4 hours, and it's like your mind's like, oh, I just ran 4 hours. This is an hour and a half of homework or something is nothing.
I think right after I did a long, maybe when I got back home from spring break, like here, when I got back home here, I did a long run, and then like maybe the next day after, I went to cut the lawn, and I'm dreading it a little bit, and then I'm like, wait, this is only gonna take like an hour and 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Like I just ran for 2 hours the other day. This is gonna be easy. I'm literally walking and pushing a machine. It makes everything else like easier.
Yeah.
Even if it's like not like physically easier, but like mentally, like
And
you're
that-
prepared for it.
That's just one of the aspects of like showing that like it really does train your mind too. It's not
Yeah.
only about like being able to run far.
Yeah, and like someone like you have to do something that you don't want to do, and then you think about it, be like, wait, I ran for almost 12 hours one time. I didn't stop. I'm sure I can do this, or if not, at least like give it a try.
Yeah, exactly. I hear you. Also, I was doing a little bit of research the other day, and well, I mean, I'll have to go into a little bit more about it, but like even just the and for people that really aren't like this physically active, and I'm not like trying to like put people down like that are not like really into like exercising and stuff like that, but like and maybe you're not like happy with maybe how you look, or maybe like this is a good sport to lose weight and stuff like that, but
Oh, yeah.
if you're not really motivated just to keep yourself in physical fitness, I was looking at keep yourself looking physically fit or healthy, or just getting out there and doing some type of exercise at least 20 minutes a day or something like that, especially for a younger person. I was thinking about how I always thought about when I have when I go to have kids, like, is my kid going to be able to take what I've like grown physically and these challenges that I've done, and like, is this affecting anything genetically? Like if I'm going to pass on to my child or something like that. And I was actually watching a podcast, and that actually showed me epigenetics is something that you can alter. You don't change the actual aspect of your genetics. Like you don't take out a gene. Like let's say there's a gene that like makes you run far, or helps with heart disease. You don't take that gene out, but you're actually physically altering it in this sequence of your DNA. And what it does is it'll put on like a methyl group cap, which is like I just recently taken organic chemistry, and if I didn't like take that, I wouldn't understand this at all. But like essentially, it's just like a carbon atom that just is put on the DNA, and it makes it so it can't get activated. But it's there. It's not like it's not there, but it just doesn't get read.
And you can develop them.
Yeah, so you can, and then once you do that, and you, it's like the more, let's say if you're using a tool like a hammer, and you use that hammer every day, you know how to use it, you know how to type really fast. Or if you really develop like your typing skills and stuff like that. Let's say you go to use that, and then you try to use like a different layout for a keyboard. You're not gonna type as fast. You know what I mean? Because the keys in the keyboard are a little bit differently spaced and everything. Same thing with like these genes that you express. The gene that like maybe that could cause some type of mechanism for you to have like bad heart disease, and which could be fixed with running, and it's proven that it helps with your cardiovascular system. But that's my parallel to this, is the fact that like that gene that could make some type of mechanism that like makes your heart, like for heart disease, there's another coinciding gene that helps it. So you, like, if you express that one more, that one is going to be the more predominant, and that's the one that's going to come out in your kid. And then that gene is still there, but like you use that other gene more often, so that's going to be the one that probably is, or most likely is going to come out in your kid. So your kid's baseline coming out is already going to be better than most physically, and obviously corona. I think it's just a cough. But yeah, it would come out in your kid. And I mean, obviously, like intellectually too, it's been proven that like the fact that the more you use, like the more physically fit you are, or more, I guess what I'm trying to say is the more stressors you apply yourself to, the better intellectually you're going to be too. It can increase your IQ, it can increase your memory. And apparently, also another thing that I heard in the same podcast was the fact that depending on when you run, it can affect like if you were going to go study or try to do like doing recall memory, depending on, it can affect either short-term or long-term memory.
Explain.
So I have it written down like somewhere. It's either, okay, let's see. I think it was if you were to study something like more like, I don't know, if you were like studying for a test or something like that, or you were trying to recall some information that you knew you were going to have to relay sooner or later, you would, if you wanted in short term, if you wanted to help in your short term memory, it's not like something that you need to remember for a long time. You can run, I think it's before, let me see. Where is it? Oh, yeah. For short term memory, it like for your short term memory recall, you can, before you need to recall this, and you run before, and then you study it, it's going to help with like your short term. So if you need to like just remember something quick on a to-do list that you don't want to forget.
You think it's because when you run, you kind of like erase some of those unnecessary things that are going around in your mind?
I would think so too. But
you're able to focus better, or just it's connected to like memory and somehow?
I'm sure it's probably a bunch of different factors. Maybe blood flow too, how much blood you're getting to your brain, just keeping your metabolism running and always going. But also, if you run after you study something, like if you're studying for something that you need to know for like a test, it's going to help your long-term memory. So it'll help you remember that in the long term.
Interesting.
So if you do like a 2-3 mile run after you studied like some really intense material, and then you have to do maybe a test like the next day, it's been proven that it'll increase your long-term memory.
I should have been running after my SAT study.
Right? But I mean, it's all connected, I really think,
Yeah.
It really is. And it's just interesting. And not only is it helping you physically, but it's helping you in other areas.
Yeah, that is interesting, because most people think whatever genes you have, they're just going to be passed on. There's nothing you can do about it.
Exactly.
You can't strengthen them or anything like that.
So if you're not, what my point is to that was like, if you're a person that's not really motivated, and I'm not saying you have to go run ultras. I'm just saying that you have to, maybe you should be motivated. If you're not going to do it for you, maybe you should be motivated to do it for your kids if you're possibly wanting to have kids. Yeah. So I don't know. That's just something that I wanted to put out there.
We need to find someone who studies genetics on the podcast. That'd be pretty cool.
Pretty cool to go over that. Yeah. I'm sure. I mean, I was looking up like I'm sure Aunt Tracy has like some pretty decent sized knowledge on like and on like genetics and stressors and stuff like that. But that was just a couple key points on it. Anyway, back to what we were saying. Where were we at?
We were just concluding the post-run chafing, stuff like that.
Oh, chafing, yeah. And what did we ended up doing after that?
Oh, then we talked about how we signed up for the SkydiveUltra, the training plan. And then we sort of kind of talk about the training for the SkydiveUltra in the episode 2.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. And, I mean, that's pretty much it for our running aspects. I mean, is there anything else you want to add about, like, your experience, like, going through the 50K or something like that? What was maybe, like, was there any, like, qualities that you brought back with you after that big run that you thought maybe, like...
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing was just everything was easier.
Yeah. I mean...
but the further it got from not doing another 50K...
I was just about to say that. Yeah.
I had that mentality. Everything was easier for maybe a month and a half, maybe less, but it didn't last forever. You don't have that feeling forever. You got to do another challenge, or you'll be kind of not right back where you left off from the beginning, but sort of back to that baseline.
You definitely won't stay there.
Yeah.
So you have to always keep that maintenance. You have to always keep that, and that's the point of this. I think is that, like, and especially that people think that, like, you're going to eventually, like, even the aspect of, like, retirement, like, eventually you're going to retire one day and you're going to have to, you can relax, and that's really, like, that's not true. That's not true. You still have to, like, do, like, work. So
bad for you.
Yeah.
Just to stop doing something.
Yeah. You got to keep your mind active. Yeah. The mind is probably one of the most,
still good.
But, the mind is probably one of the most active parts, like the most essential parts of your body, and you can train it with physical activity. I think is the best thing to do for it. What do you think?
All right, you want to wrap it up?
Yeah.
Since we're doing this for video.
Anyhow, but all right, people, that's about it. See ya.